About a week ago, I posted a video predicting the leading point scorer for all 31 NHL teams next season, and now in today's video, I'm kind of just going to follow that up and predict the leading goal scorer for all 31 teams next NHL season. And before I get into today's video, I just want to say, go down in the description, subscribe to the gaming channel. NHL 20's full release is tonight at about 1 a.m. I'm going to have my first video on NHL 20 posted on the gaming channel tomorrow, so go subscribe to that if you have not already, and follow me on Twitter and Instagram. You can also become a patron if you'd like. And also, one more thing, I want to say I'm sorry for the inconsistency in the uploads over the past couple of weeks. The hurricane knocked out the power the past 2 days. Hurricane Dorian was here in Halifax and it hit us pretty bad, so I wasn't able to upload the past couple of days, but I'm going to try to consistently upload every single day right up until the start of the NHL season. So without wasting any more time, let's jump right into this video, starting off with the Anaheim Ducks. My pick for the Anaheim Ducks is Ondrej Kase. I didn't want to pick the obvious player for all 31 teams, so I thought this would be a good team to maybe pick a dark horse, and I think a good pick would be Kase. He had 11 goals last year in 30 games, 20 total points, was very good when he was on the ice, and if he can stay healthy in this next NHL season, I definitely think he can be like a 30 to 35 goal scorer, and if he does, I definitely think that would put him in contention to lead the team in goals. Obviously, you have guys like Ryan Getzlaf who are definitely capable of it if he's healthy, same with Rickard Rakell, but again, I'm just kind of take a shot in the dark on this one and go with Ondrej Kase. Next up, we have the Arizona Coyotes, and my pick is Phil Kessel. Last year with the Pittsburgh Penguins, he had 27 goals, which is definitely a little bit low for Phil Kessel. I think he should definitely consistently be a 30 goal scorer, and next year my goal projection for him is actually around 35 to 40 goals, because he's going to get a lot of opportunity to put up big numbers, and I definitely think he's going to have a fantastic season with the Arizona Coyotes, and this was honestly a pretty easy pick for me. I definitely think he's going to lead them in goals next year. Moving on now to the Boston Bruins, I picked him to lead them in points, and I'm going to pick David Pastrnak to lead them in goals as well. He had 81 points last season, 38 goals in just 66 games. I think this season he's definitely a lock to be at least a 40 to 45 goal scorer, and I would not be surprised at all if he scores 50. I think he's one of the elite goal scoring wingers in the entire NHL, and he's my pick to lead them in goals this year. Moving on now to the Buffalo Sabres, and my pick is Jeff Skinner. 40 goals last year, 63 total points, and next year I have him in the 35 to 40 goal range. Wouldn't be surprised if he drops off a little bit, but then again, I wouldn't be surprised if he cracks 40 again, because that top line of Buffalo was so deadly this past season. You could definitely make an argument that Jack Eichel will probably lead them in goals, but in my opinion, he's more the playmaker and Jeff Skinner is more of the finisher, so that's why he's my pick to lead them in goals next year. Next up, we have the Calgary Flames, and my pick is Matthew Tkachuk. He was tied with Sean Monahan with 34 goals for the team lead last year. Tkachuk had 77 total points. It was definitely an amazing breakout season for him, and this season I could see him in the 35 to 40 goal range. I definitely think he has the potential to be a 40 goal scorer. He's very good on the power play and definitely a guy you should look out for. Moving along now to the Carolina Hurricanes, and there was actually a lot of good options, but I went with their best player, Sebastian Aho. 30 goals, 53 assists last year for 83 points. Really solidified himself as a superstar caliber player and definitely their franchise guy moving forward. And next year, I could see him scoring 30 to 35 goals. But then again, I wouldn't be surprised if a guy like Nino Niederreiter has a really good year and maybe scores 30 to 35 and leads them. Or maybe a guy like Andrei Svechnikov has a huge jump in his sophomore season and becomes like a 35 goal scorer. So my pick is Sebastian Aho, but again, I wouldn't be surprised if it's someone else off this team. Moving on to the Chicago Blackhawks, my pick is Alex DeBrincat. I definitely think Patty Kane will probably lead them in total points again, but Alex DeBrincat, in my opinion, is going to be one of the best goal scorers in the entire NHL for the next, 5 to 7 years. He had 41 goals last year in his sophomore season, a huge jump from his rookie year, and next year I wouldn't be surprised if he's like a 45 to 50 goal scorer, and if he scores that much, I definitely think he'll be leading their team. Next up, we have the Colorado Avalanche. Easy pick here. I have Mackinnon leading them in total points, and I think he's going to be their leading goal scorer as well. He had 41 goals this past season, and I definitely think next year he'll be around the 40 to 45 goal range, and if he scores that much, I definitely think he will be their leading scorer. Maybe a guy like Landeskog could be up there, and obviously same with Mikko Rantanen, but I definitely think the safe pick has to be Mackinnon. Moving on to the Dallas Stars, and my pick is Tyler Seguin. Last year had 33 goals, 80 total points, and next year I definitely think he'll be in the 30 to 35 goal range as well. He had 40 in the 2017-18 season, so he's definitely capable of scoring a lot. There is some other good options on this team. They just picked up Joe Pavelski, who had 38 last year. Obviously, Jamie Benn and Radulov can all score, but I think the best bet has to be Tyler Seguin because he really is their best offensive player. Next up, we have the Detroit Red Wings, and this one was pretty difficult for me because Larkin led the way in goals last season. Athanasiou also had 30 goals, but I think I'm going to go with Anthony Mantha because he definitely has the potential to be the best goal scorer on this team. He had a career high 25 goals last year in just 67 games, so I think if healthy and he plays like 75 plus games, he definitely could be in like the 30 to 35 goal range, and if he is, I think he would be a safe bet to be their leading goal scorer. Moving on now to the Edmonton Oilers, I picked McDavid to lead them in points, and I'm going to pick Draisaitl to lead them in goals. Just like last season, he had 50 goals and 55 assists for 105 points. And if McDavid and Draisaitl play together, I definitely think Draisaitl is a safe bet to be their leading goal scorer again, because McDavid is obviously the setup man, and Draisaitl is usually the guy that ends up putting the puck in the net. I think he definitely could be a 45 to 50 goal scorer again next year, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised if maybe that 50 goes up to like 52 or 55. Next up, we have the Florida Panthers, and my pick is their best player, Alexander Barkov. Last year he had 96 points, 35 goals, and next year I definitely think he'll be like a 35 to 40 goal scorer, somewhere in that range, once again like he was this past season. There is a lot of offensive weapons on this team though. You look at guys like Dadonov, Jonathan Huberdeau, Vincent Trocheck, Mike Hoffman, all potential candidates, but I definitely have to go with Barkov because he showed last season that he can be an elite goal scorer. Moving along now to LA Kings, and my pick is Anze Kopitar. Only 22 goals last year, but it was definitely a little bit of a down year for him, and I think he'll bounce back and get up to maybe the 70 to 75 point range, and I could definitely see him being like a 25 to 30 goal scorer, and if he scores that many goals, I definitely think he will 100% be the leading goal scorer for them next season. Moving on now to the Minnesota Wild, and my pick is Jason Zucker. Had an amazing 2017-18 season, 30 goals, 60 points, got the new contract extension this past summer, and then had a little bit of a disappointing season, only 21 goals, 42 total points, but I definitely think he'll bounce back and be like a 25 to 30 goal scorer, and if he scores in that range, he definitely could be the leading scorer on this team. But again, there is a lot of options on this team, guys like Zach Parise. We know Eric Stahl can still put the puck in the net. Maybe a guy like Kevin Fiala has a breakout year. A lot of options for this team, but in the end, I had to go with Jason Zucker. Moving on now to the Montreal Canadiens, and my pick is Brendan Gallagher, one of the more underrated wings in the league. He definitely does a little bit of everything, and he scored at a pretty solid rate last year. 33 goals in 82 games, 52 total points, and I think he's probably a safe bet to lead them in goals once again next season. They do have some other options, guys like Max Domi, Thomas Tatar, maybe Ryan Poehling comes in and has a really good scoring rookie season, but I have to go with Brendan Gallagher just because he showed over the past 2 seasons that he can score 30. For the Nashville Predators, my pick is Victor Arvidsson. I went with Forsberg in terms of leading in total points, but Victor Arvidsson can score with the best of them, and I definitely think he'll be leading them next year. Only 58 games played last year, and he still had 34 goals. If he stayed healthy, he definitely would have been like a 45, maybe even a 50 goal scorer, and that is, I think, what he'll do next year. I have him in the 40 to 45 goal range, and if he scores that much, I definitely think he'll be the leading scorer for them this year. Moving on now to the New Jersey Devils, and my pick is the 2017-18 MVP of the NHL, Taylor Hall. We didn't see him get to follow that up this past season because he was injured, only played 33 games, and I definitely think if he's healthy, he is 100% the safest pick to be their leading scorer in this up-and-coming season. They definitely do have a lot of other weapons, but Taylor Hall has shown that he can definitely score at a high rate. Next up, we have the New York Islanders, and my pick is their captain, Anders Lee. Last year, only 28 goals, which was down compared to his 40-goal season he had in the 2017-18 year, but even still, he was a better overall player last year, and the team had a lot more success, and I definitely think he would trade that in any day of the week. Next year, I think he'll probably be in the 30 to 35 goal range, and honestly, I don't really know if anyone else on the Islanders will be up there. Maybe a guy like Matt Barzal, but he's definitely more of a playmaker, so I think Anders Lee is a pretty safe bet to lead them in scoring this season. Next up, we have the Rangers, and this team was another one where I kind of picked a wild card, and I went with Pavel Buchnevich. 21 goals last year in 64 games, 38 total points, and I've said this numerous times on the channel. He has all the tools to be one of the best power forwards in the game, and I definitely think he will score 25 to 30 goals in this up-and-coming season, maybe even 30 plus, and if he does, I think he definitely has a good chance of leading them in goals, because yes, Panarin is is their best player and will probably lead them in points. He's more of a playmaker, and I think Buchnevich could really develop a great finishing role in this team. Moving along now to the Ottawa Senators, and while I picked Thomas Chabot to lead them in points, I think Brady Tkachuk will probably be their leading goal scorer. He had 22 last year, in which was a really solid rookie year, and I think next year he'll definitely be in that 25 to 30 goal range. I can't really see anyone else on Ottawa doing that. Maybe a guy like Colin White, but I think that's definitely less likely than Brady Tkachuk, so he's my pick to lead them in goals this season. For the Philadelphia Flyers, my pick is Sean Couturier. Claude Giroux and Jacob Voracek, they're definitely more of playmakers, and Sean Couturier had 33 goals this past season, 76 total points, and I think there is a strong possibility he's in that 30 to 35 goal range once again, and if he scores at that rate, I think he is a safe bet to be their leading scorer once again in this up and coming year. Moving on to the Pittsburgh Penguins, and my pick is Jake Guentzel. He led them in goals last year, 40 goals, 36 assists for 76 points, and I definitely think he'll lead them again in around the 40 to 45 goal range, especially if Crosby stays healthy and they play in a line together, because if you're on a line with Crosby, you can stand there with your stick on the ice and he'll get you 20 goals. Jake Guentzel is definitely a solid player, and I don't want to take anything away from him, but obviously he benefits from playing, with one of the best players in the entire world, and I definitely think he will be a 40 goal scorer again and lead them in goals. For the San Jose Sharks, my pick is Timo Meier. I've said this again numerous times on the channel. He has all the tools to be a consistent 40 goal scorer in the NHL. He had a breakout season this past year, 30 goals, 36 assists for 66 points, and next year with an increased role, I definitely think he'll be in that 35 to 40 goal range and 100% be the leading goal scorer for them in this up and coming season. Moving on now to the St. Louis Blues, a very easy pick for me. I went with Vlad Tarasenko. This is a guy to me who should have had many more 40 goal seasons than he's had to this point in time. Only 33 goals last year, which is still very good, but from him you definitely expect a little more. And next year I think he'll get that up to around the 35 to 40 goal range, and if he does, I can't really see anyone else on St. Louis competing with him to be the leading goal scorer. Next up we have the Tampa Bay Lightning, and my pick is Steven Stamkos. Yeah, Kucherov is probably their best player now, and definitely the guy who's going to lead them in points, but Steven Stamkos is a beast in terms of just putting the puck in the net. He scored 60 goals before and also led them last season with 45 goals. And next year, I think he'll probably score 45 to 50 and definitely be their leading scorer. He's been a monster at scoring ever since he's came into the league. For the Toronto Maple Leafs, I went with Auston Matthews, a pretty easy pick here. I also went with him to lead them in total points. I think he's going to have a monster year in this up and coming season, and he was dominating the league in terms of goal scoring at the start of last season, and if he can stretch that out and stay healthy for a full season, he definitely can be a 45 to 50 goal scorer and be the best goal scorer on this team, and maybe even be in contention for the Rocket Richard. For the Vancouver Canucks, my pick is Brock Besser, and this is another scenario where he's not their best player, and he's probably not going to lead them in total points, but he definitely is their best goal scorer, and I think him and Pettersson, if they both stay healthy for a full season, can really be a dominant duo in this up-and-coming season, and I think Brock Besser could definitely be like a 30 to 35 goal scorer, and I wouldn't even be surprised if he maybe ups that and is in like the 35 to 40 range. Moving on to the Vegas Golden Knights, this one was actually kind of tough because they have so many guys that can score. You look at William Karlsson, who scored 40 in their inaugural season. Obviously Mark Stone can put the puck in the net, but I went with Max Pacioretty because I think a lot of the other players are going to take on more of a playmaking role, and Pacioretty has definitely showed that he can score 30 goals on a pretty consistent basis, 22 goals last year in just 66 games, and I think if healthy next year, he'll definitely be in that 30 to 35 range, hopefully maybe even be in the upper 30s because he definitely has the capability to do so. For the Washington Capitals, I have Alex Ovechkin. I don't really have to explain this. In my opinion, the greatest goal scorer to ever play the game, and he's still scoring 50 goals. Had 51 last year, and I think next year he'll probably be in that 45 to 50 goal range once again, and probably most likely be in the conversation for the Rocket Richard because Ovechkin is just a monster. And now finishing out the video with Patrick Laine as my pick for the Winnipeg Jets. I think he's going to prove a lot of people wrong in this up and coming season, whether it's with another team or whether things do work out and he stays with the Winnipeg Jets. He got a lot of slack this past season for how he played, only 30 goals, which is still solid, but from a player who scored 44 the year before, you definitely expect a lot more. I think he's going to be in the 40 to 45 goal range in this up and coming season, and if he is a member of the Winnipeg Jets, I think he's going to lead them in goals. So that is going to wrap up today's video. I really hope you guys did enjoy. Make sure to let me know down in the comment section who you think the leading scorers in the NHL will be in terms of goals, and your prediction on who's going to win the Rocket Richard. I'm very curious to hear your guys' thoughts. not, so make sure to let me know down in the comment section. And with that being said, make sure to drop a like on the video if you enjoyed, and subscribe to the channel for daily NHL content, and I will see you guys all in the next video.